Oh my gosh, guys, I have to record this immediately. Oh my gosh. Oh my gosh, it was only like 41 minutes. Maybe I'm overreacting. I'm probably overreacting, but this was very exciting. Especially the beginning, I was freaking out at all the reveals and the amount of questions they answered in like the first few minutes was insane. But we'll get into it. First things first, the description of this episode gives an answer and a spoiler. It says that this is Silo 18, which obviously it's not too surprising. We theorized that, or we being, I guess, the Silo watchers. I don't know, sorry. But the Silo watchers thought that this was the Silo 18 because Bernard's key that unlocks the server room has an 18 written on it. It's red and flashing or whatnot. So, yeah, it's not that surprising, but the description confirmed it and the show didn't. But I also saw next episode is Wednesday for some reason. Maybe Thanksgiving. I don't know. It might even be Tuesday because they do it the night before. Because it says the episode's supposed to come out Friday, but tonight's Thursday and it did. Anyways, we follow up with the Silo, the actual Silo, which I figured we'd do this episode since we followed up with Juliet last episode. But we follow up with the Silo, and we start with some breathing we hear as it's black, and it goes into frame to see Juliet kind of breathing in this situation in her suit, but we're seeing from inside her suit. And yes, I literally freaked out at this one moment, because this one moment had Bernard looking at a camera that was in Juliet's suit that was in this light room that he had just went into in the finale. So this answered so much. We'll talk about it right here. I guess right now. That's what you guys are here for. But Bernard was in this room. You don't remember in the season finale. The last time we see Bernard is he panics, he grabs his key, he unlocks the server room, he opens the doors, the lights flash on in his glasses, and boom. That's it. That's the last we see of Bernard. So when we saw last episode, season 2, episode 1, the one where we followed Juliet, she goes through the same doors. They did not make it obvious at all. I thought it was the same doors in this separate silo, okay? The separate silo, the same looking doors. But we got to see Juliet walk through what was at the other side of these doors, and she walked next to some like servers. And they kind of put a slight second or two emphasis on the servers in that episode. And I thought this has got to be the room that Bernard went into. And at the end of this room, Juliet opens this large door and then comes across this huge vault door where she meets this guy, this man in this vault. But I was like, is that all in that room that Bernard opened in the finale? And yes, this right here gave us confirmation of this. It did that. It not only told us what is in this room and in this vault. I don't know, it was a TV screen that he used to see her point of view through like a camera, I guess. But I wonder what that screen's used for. Is it like always used for the person going outside? I don't know. Maybe they've used it before for previous people. But this was also in the trailer, and I was theorizing that it was the same room, and I was correct. Just wanted to say that, but that's exciting. But he does have a copy of the pact in front of him. He opens to a page that says, "In the event of a failed cleaning, prepare for war." And then underneath it, if you're wondering what it says, this failed cleaning action plans this failed cleaning action plans provided only as a guide to help mayoral and judicial and employees/raiders comply with the requirement of the Occupational Safety and Health Administration Silo Emergency Action Plan Standard 34 code. And that's just a lot of fanciness, really. But then the rest of it's too hard to read. You can read bits and pieces, but not really make anything out. It's a bit hard to read. Then some yellow lights, I guess, start to flash, and he goes through the rooms. Further confirmation that he's going through the same rooms that Juliet went through the last episode. I could not contain my excitement. It was insane. And this is, as I said, the room with the servers and the crazy guy. Once he closes this safe, he goes to input a code, And we only see him put 3 and 9. Now, I don't know if that's the entire code or they just cut to the end of him inputting the code, but we know 3 and 9 are in it regardless. I was also thinking in this moment that Paul Billings was probably thinking at the same moment about what the back says when somebody doesn't clean. So yeah. And then the alarm starts sounding and I'm like, this is obvious that this is not supposed to happen. Was some insane thing. Why are they triggering alarms? Are these only used in specific areas? But no, the alarms are around the silo, and it made sense. Someone went over the hill, but them activating the alarms kind of makes it seem obvious that they don't want their own people going above the hill or over the hill, I guess. But we go to Juliet's father, Dr. Nichols, who is still watching and still waiting or looking at the screen when everyone else around him is left. There's empty chairs and seats, but he's still staring at that screen, which gives some emphasis on his emotions in that moment. Then we get Sims and Bernard to meet up. Sims says there's talk of a rebellion. Then Bernard says to detain 2 people in the lower levels that knew how to get Juliet to safety, and we know that's Walker and Carla. Sorry, I forgot for a second. Jeez. Sim says the people down there are probably loving this right now, and we cut straight to the people that just watched Juliet go over the hill at the lower levels, freaking out and destroying PA systems and stuff. But then Hank tries to get a hold of him. They kind of don't trust Hank. Knox wants to get up as well. A lot of people say they want to go out. Knox steps on a table and tries to convince them, I guess, to calm down. And then Shirley asks him why he turned her in. He says he had to because they're going to keep pushing on the lower level people. Shirley says we should just cut off the power for the rest of the silo. The upper levels need them more than they need them. Yeah. Then Walker comes in with a hose. This is amazing, just spraying everyone. And yeah, then we kind of go to the intro, and this was a hell of an opening. Then we get a scene with Dr. Nichols needing help with the Anderson baby, they say, that is crying. And then weirdly, he has a suspicious guy behind him, Dr. Nichols, standing here. We don't really get a follow-up on this, but maybe it has to do with Bernard wanting Dr. Nichols to be watched. I'm guessing that's what it is. We see that this baby has a dislocated elbow, which is not great. But we get a sweet and short scene of him holding this daughter, or it's not his daughter, but this baby, and kind of, we can see it. It's a good example of show don't tell, of his contemplations about the fact that his daughter just went over the hill. We go back to Paul Billings, who now reports to Sims and Judicial, which is interesting. Paul starts questioning Sims, which is crazy good character development from Paul being someone who doesn't question the pack, who's read the pack time and time again, who is now questioning those same ideals. Paul says he needs a statement from Sims of why Juliet went out, or the, I guess, interaction of when she said she wanted to clean. And Paul asks, why would she run if she said she wanted to go outside? And Sim's like, I don't know, and then leaves. We are laying the foundation and the roots of Paul's questioning the silo, I guess. Then we're going to see Shirley and Walker. Shirley says she doesn't understand the note, which said they are good in supply, obviously talking about the tape. And then Hank comes in and says he needs to talk with Walker, and that Judicial wants to ask Walker a few questions and arrests her. Then we get an interesting interaction with Judge Meadows for like one of the few times in this show. She learns about Juliet going over the hill, and she says to herself, what now, Bernard? Like, what does that even mean? And at this point, I figured, what does that mean? But I was like, Maybe she knows some things. She's got to be in on some of these secrets and is kind of being like, okay, what's Bernard gonna do? I mean, that's the obvious thing, right? That's pretty basic and boring. Let me know what y'all think. Then we get an emphasis on her pouring out her drink in the sink, and this is no ordinary drink. This is the only drink we've seen her drink throughout the entire first season. I thought it was so weird that she would only drink this yellow weird stuff the entire first season, that it had to be something. And we get a reveal later in the episode on what exactly that is. At this point, I was thinking maybe this was to purposely make herself sick. Any theories? But we actually know what it is later. Then we get a scene with Knox and one of his old friends in mechanical. This friend says that something, I don't remember exactly, but it says something about your becoming your old man or something in a good way, which I feel like this episode kind of set the foundation for building Knox's character. This season, I'm guessing he'll play a bigger role in this rebellion kind of a thing, and I like that. But he says there's two things he needs from his friends. He needs them not to make weapons, and we don't hear the second. They kind of cut off screen, and we don't see or hear the rest of the episode, so let's theorize about that in the comments below. As for what I think it may be, I'm not sure at all in the slightest. It could be anything, so yeah, I bet y'all can think better than me there. Then we get a scene with Bernard going to Judge Meadows' living quarters, I guess. And Bernard, I love this is another example of show don't tell. I'm not going to say that the entire episode, but where Bernard kind of very subtly does like a confused look when he looks at Judge Meadows' head, because she's not wearing her typical, I don't know what it is, wrap around her hair. But then Meadows says she stopped her drink. Bernard does a little giggle, I guess. But he says he needs to speak to the silo and address what has happened and needs Meadows with him. Meadows asks if he knows how Juliet may have gotten out, and Bernard says it had to be the tape. In this scene, I also realized that Bernard was being softer on her than anyone else. 100% was kind of letting her boss him around a little more and being a little more casual with her. And then they just start casually talking about the other silo that Julia went into, and the fact that Bernard saw thousands of bodies and was worried that that may happen to this silo if war were to break out. This was kind of a reveal that Meadows knows. She casually knows that there are other silos, that Juliet did live. Like, he's comfortable with sharing this information with her, which is, I mean, not too surprising, but we know this. Bernard says that the pack doesn't say what to do if they completely walk over the hill and out of sight. He says the founders didn't consider this at all, and this is very interesting. I definitely want more flashbacks on the founders, and I guess I don't know if they'll do that, but that would be a very cool episode, wouldn't it? We also get the reveal here that Meadows was his shadow, his only shadow. When Sims has been wanting to be his shadow, we now know that Meadows was years ago. This, I guess, is why he was more casual and softer with her, and that's why they seemed close. We also get the reveal that her name is Mary, and that she's held onto a secret for 25 years. Like, we're just getting a lot in this scene right here. Then we see Meadows pick up a copy of The Wizard of Oz. She says that she is like the Wizard of Oz at the end, that she's been, I guess, a facade, and that she wants a hot air balloon like him to fly away. And I was like, literal or metaphorical? I was leaning towards metaphorical, obviously, but it definitely wasn't clear if she was wanting a literal hot air balloon. If you were wondering what the other books were, it's very hard to make out the other ones, but we know Story of Beowulf, which was an inspiration for Lord of the Rings. I don't know what that has to do anything, but there was also To Kill a Mockingbird, and that's the only one I saw. But in general, the scene gives us a lot of information, tells us there's some history and also some bad blood. And this is some more flashbacks I want. I want Meadows and Bernard in their early days, 25 years ago or whatever, when they were close and what happened. I want those flashback episodes. Then we see the low levels with watching Walker get taken up. to a cell with Carla in it as well, and they sit down. They're gonna get questioned, and we get a close-up of a camera in there, which we can do now because we know there is a camera in there. Walker and her start to talk. They talk about the fact that there may be a tape connection, that the tape goes through Carla. They're talking about this, and I was just saying, guys, can we? There's a cam in there. I don't know if it picks up audio, but like there's a cam in there, guys. But Carla wants to take the hit. She wants to say that she took the hit, or that she gave the tape to Juliet. But Walker wants both to just stay quiet. And I understand both here. Walker wants them both to be quiet and hope that they don't get this information, that this is their chance. But at the same time, Carla thinks if they do that, they'll just get sent to the mines and die for nothing. This also got me thinking that Walker might die for a second. I thought it for a second and I was like, no. But then it got me thinking that if Walker were to die, that would spark a rebellion further 100%, because Walker and the symbol she represents in the lower level. Then we get an announcement to the silo from Bernard. And we see Meadows here. Meadows made it, even if she didn't get her hot air balloon. Bernard says this is a new era, and then I was confused, I was wondering, what is he going to go with here? What's he going to say? And he goes with Juliet being a fighter who has his respect, and saying she isn't alive, but then saying that the reason she made it over the hill was something to do with the tape. And I was like, wait, what? We're saying the tape? And then he says, IT made new tape. And this allowed her to go further, but she died. And here I was like, is he stupid? No one in their mind was probably thinking, oh, she made it over the hill because of some tape. She must have had different tape. No one was thinking that. But now he has put that into their head. And then also, this does not confirm how he would know that she is dead or not. Like, we still get no confirmation. But now they're going to question the tape. But Shirley cannot resist shouting that they are lying, that the tape was switched out, whatnot, and that they were purposely doing bad tape to kill people. During this, a judicial officer, I guess, takes her by the arms, like, I'm going to take you up and arrest you. But then Knox comes and Hank comes and they bail out Shirley. I felt bad for Hank this episode. Poor Hank, was helping out the lower levels, but just wanted to do his job. But this was definitely an example of Shirley and Knox combating on their ideals. And I thought here, if they were on the same team, that would be amazing. Then we got a reveal that that Sims had planted men in the rally. Oh, I'm sorry, I forgot to mention this. But at the rally, there were a few men saying things like, Juliet's a traitor, and stuff like this, to make Bernard seem like he's like, no, she's not a traitor. She deserves your respect. But these men were planted by Sims. Then we get a scene of Bernard with the Pez dispenser around the red level relics. Sims asks if he figured out what that was. He says he has, and he says it was not important in the old world. Then we see Hank let the ladies go. Walker and Carla go. And then as Bernard goes up these flights of stairs to make it to Meadows' living quarters again, he sees a Juliet Lives spray written as JL. We get a scene with Sims, who says, I'm punchy, when he gets back to his wife. I don't think I've ever heard somebody say that. Maybe that's just me. But she offers him some alcohol, and he says, nah. And I was like, good for you, Sims. No alcohol. But this is also kind of alluding a bit to what information we get here with Meadows in the end. We still know that season 1, Sims and his wife have a greater plan and reason that he wants to be Bernard's shadow, but he's still confused on why he's not Bernard's shadow. In this moment, I was like, oh, Meadows is what's holding Bernard back. Meadows set the bar too high, as Bernard will say in the next scene, and that's why he hasn't given Sims the shadow role. And then we get a scene here of his wife turning on the water faucet, and And this was just a completely random emphasis on the water. Like, the scene was framed the same way the whole time. We get a random cut to her filling up this water, and then the scene goes back to normal. I don't know why they needed to show us filling up the water. It might be something I'm missing, or something that we will see as time goes on. Then Sims starts to piece it together that Bernard's been meeting with Meadows today and starts to question. Then we get Bernard going to Meadows' living quarters. Meadows says that she wanted to watch the silo fall around him, and that's why she went. And she's like, today's performance was pretty good. And I was like, no, today's performance wasn't that good. And that wasn't that great of an excuse. Then Bernard kind of convinced me that it may have been because he said Bernard made his story so that now his story must be disproved instead of someone believing he was lying and some don't. Because if he just said Juliet's dead, some people may agree, some may not, but he came up with something that now has to be disproved that'll last them a little bit. But he explains that after this he's gonna go with brute force, but she says no, don't go with brute force, it doesn't work that long. They need something to believe in. We also get confirmation here that Meadows is the only other person besides him to see what's inside that vault at the beginning of the episode. Bernard explains that he tried to find another shadow, but Meadows set the bar too high. So kind of poor Sims here. Poor Sims. Then Meadows says, I want you to see something, and goes to the faucet. And I was like, ooh, are we going to get something with that water? Then we go to Shirley, who found Juliet's shadow Cooper spying on them because Knox asked him to. But he says he wanted to follow because he wants to join this rebellion. He knows that Juliet's alive as well, and he wants to do this for her. Then Walker just appears, and it's pretty funny. But he says, I followed Cooper, which shows how bad of a spy Cooper is. But it's great. But not Walker was very intelligent in this scene. She was the smart one. She knew what was up. And she explains that the judicial officers are just waiting for you to make the move. She explains a lot, actually, about the rebellion and how they're going to make it work. And she is going to be this forefront in the logical department, I guess. And we get a final scene with what I thought was Meadows pouring out water again. I was like, what are we doing with the water? But we get it revealed there was alcohol. And she says this is going to be the first time in 25 years she was not drunk. First of all, how was she not dead? Second of all, this is confirmation that what was in that yellow drink that she drank every time we saw her was alcohol. And that's why she felt so crappy every day, and why she had stomach problems and headaches every day was because she was drinking this. So I thought it was to make her sick. It's kind of like that, but it was to make her drunk. Meadows asks for one more thing in this episode. She says if she's gonna help Bernard, she wants tape, and she wants to go outside just like Juliet got today. That she wants this as her version of an air balloon. I was like, whoa, this is crazy. And I thought about the fact that this is going to have implications, not only if somebody else makes it out again, what that's going to mean, or if it's going to show that this new IT tape that he's made up is like working. And also this is the judge going out. Like, this would be a lot. But yeah, that's a little bit of a long episode there today, but it was a long episode, or a lot to cover. But thank you guys so much for watching. I'll be breaking down the next episode, which comes out before Thanksgiving, so it'll be sooner than you expect. Okay, have a good rest of your day, guys. Goodbye.